Your shoes wait beside the mat. You promise 10 minutes outside. The room stays warm. You stay inside again. The problem is not laziness. It is losing belief in your own word. How did one tiny promise become so heavy? You touch the cool door handle, then let your hand fall. This is not about becoming a confident person overnight. Self-trust is not a mood. It is repeated proof. The hard part is that your mind remembers every time you announce change, then quietly walked away from it. On a low shelf, a shallow wooden tray waits with one smooth pebble on the left side. You do not move it yet. You only look at it. A small object can feel childish until it starts telling the truth. Morning light touches the tray as the pebble sits exactly where yesterday left it. The point is not the pebble. The point is the rule behind it. One kept promise moves it across. One skipped promise leaves it still. Your mind does not fully believe speeches. It waits for evidence. It listens less to plans than to patterns. You bend down beside the entry mat and retie one shoe slowly, even though no one is waiting outside. This is where private proof begins. It is the evidence you build when nobody is checking. Not a big promise, not a public restart, just one small action that makes your own word less easy to dismiss. But here's the strange part. The promise can be tiny and still count. You run a finger along the edge of a small wall hook, and the jacket hanging there becomes less important than the fact that you placed it back. At the building steps, you stand under pale morning shade and almost go back in. Then you walk to the end of the block and return. Nothing dramatic happens. No one sees it. That is why it matters. The proof belongs to you before it becomes a performance for anyone else. A small kept promise can feel smaller than pride. That is why it is safer. It has less to defend. You open a clean storage box and see the resistance band you bought during a different version of yourself. The band is not accusing you, but your body remembers the big plan attached to it. Big promises can become heavy because they carry too many future days at once. In the afternoon, the small hook catches a strip of light. You place the band back where it can be reached tomorrow. That is not ambition yet. It is access. You are making the next kept promise less far away. At the library return slot, you hold one thin book against your chest and hesitate. You promise to finish 5 pages, not the whole shelf. The book slides in. The consequence is quiet. You stop needing the promise to feel impressive before you allow it to count. And this is where it changes. Self-trust does not grow because you finally become strict. It grows because the evidence becomes harder to argue with. You notice the cool metal of the return slot and realize the task is already behind you. The full moment arrives later. You stand in front of the wooden tray after a short walk. Your hand hovers above the smooth pebble. There is a little embarrassment in it, like the action is too small to matter. Then you move it to the right side. Your chest does not become brave. It becomes a little quieter. No applause arrives. That is the important part. The proof does not depend on being noticed. You catch the shadow of the pebble on the tray, and the smallness stops feeling like weakness. Your body starts remembering different evidence. The mat by the door no longer only means avoidance. The tray no longer only means delay. The storage hook no longer only means another failed plan. Private proof changes the meaning of ordinary objects before it changes your identity. What happens when you miss a day? The old story tries to return. It says the proof was fake. The harder part comes later. You stand by the plant shelf with the small watering can still full. You forgot yesterday. The old habit wants drama, but the plant only needs today. So you water it once and do not turn the missed day into a verdict. Self-trust is not perfection. Perfection is too fragile. You notice a faint water line on the planter tray, and it tells a better story. Something was missed. Something still continued. In a quiet reading corner, you place a bookmark after 5 pages and close the book before the old voice asks for more. This is the sharper recognition. Sometimes you break trust with yourself by turning a small promise into a bigger test halfway through. A promise becomes safer when it has an edge. 5 pages means 5 pages, not a secret audition for a new life. That is when it turns. At a narrow tool rail, you put the small screwdriver back after tightening one loose drawer pull. The task is almost laughably minor, but the drawer closes cleanly. The screwdriver returns to its place. Your mind receives one more piece of evidence that you finish what you said you would finish. Self-trust begins to feel less like a personality trait and more like a trail behind you. You notice the clear gap where the screwdriver belongs, and the gap makes completion visible. So why does this matter more than motivation? Motivation talks about the person you hope to be. Small proof talks about the person who already showed up. You feel the difference in the weight of the next morning. You are not finished. That is not the point. You stand near the tray and the right side is still almost empty, but it is not empty anymore. That is enough to change the next promise. The last change is quiet. You stop asking confidence to arrive before the action. You let the action leave proof behind. Self-trust is not a mood. It is repeated proof, not confidence first, but proof returning quietly.